welcome to Tailgate Beers. Ryan and Austin here. Today, we are sitting down with Matt Burrell and Nicky T from Raised Rowdy. Welcome, boys.
It's called Raised Rowdy.
It's Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. We cracked a beer because we do our Tailgate Beers.
Tailgate
do a
cheers.
little cheers here.
Cheers.
So
This is very tailgate
Sobriety.
cheers, cheers. So welcome. What's going on?
Busy boys, man.
Running and gunning, man. It's a lot with what we do with all the events in town. You guys were out with us on Sunday.
Yep.
And we did the Lord's Day right. We had us a good Sunday with the TNT folks, with the Tailgate Beers folks.
My first Nashville trip, I think we talked about that too, and it was just fun. I mean, we got to ride into town on Sunday, came over and met with you guys. I've never been to like a round like that before, so it's just fascinating to watch how all of this just kind of happens and works, and kind of behind the scenes stuff that you hear about.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Like, until you're here, there's not many other locations where writers' rounds happen, right? There's a little bit here and there pop up, maybe a charity event comes from somewhere, but Nashville, the base of it is on events like that, where it's just artists or songwriters sharing their songs, original music, you know, with their buddies or with people they just met that hopefully become their buddies. It's just cool.
And so for people that don't know, I mean, this round was at Losers.
Yep.
Which is one of the places, because you guys host many of these, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do about 10 to, we peak at around 12 a month. We've cut it back to 10 a month, which is still a lot, but a little more manageable. So Nick hosts every Sunday at Losers, Rowdy on the Row. I host our Wednesday, which is a hybrid, which you were also at last week, which was another chaotic night. We call it Wednesdays at the Duck Blind, formerly known as Winners, Riley Green's new bar.
Which will be there tomorrow.
God bless. It'll be fun. And that one's
close.
Yeah, and that one's kind of a hybrid. That's a 5-song showcase, so it's artists individually, either acoustic or with a band, playing 5 songs apiece. And then we also have Outside the Round, which is the name of the pod that I host, and the event that I host, which is similar to Sunday, but it's over at Riley Green's Duck Blind. So.
Yep. Every other Tuesday.
Yeah.
And these are up and coming artists that are you guys finding them, or they reach out? How does that work?
It's a mix for sure. We get a lot of people that pitch us to play, and then we will reach out to a lot of people that like either have played in the past and we know are great, or, you know, homies that we've had. Like, we'll try to sometimes bring people out that don't play writers' rounds much anymore, because it is kind of like a thing where once you're on the road full time, you're not trying to come back on Sunday night and have to play another 5 songs, you know, or 3 songs.
Well, and just going through Nashville and talking about how you haven't been here and stuff, but even as we sat at Neighbors and other places eating, you can just watch, and there'll be, you know, chick carrying a guitar walking down the street to her next, you know, right, or her next thing, and some guy coming in just trying to play music everywhere. It's happening at every single bar.
Yeah. This is a hustler's paradise, man. Like, that's one of the things I talk about Nashville is that I love is everyone's doing 5 things here. You know, every person that just moved to town is bartending or bar backing, and also playing writers' rounds and being out networking. You know, it's like, it's just running full speed all the time. And those are the ones that actually end up being able to make it work, because that just turns into you're on the road all the time,
right?
And equal amounts of effort.
Yeah, it creates like a bubble in town too, where it's kind of nice when the world is crazy. We're kind of in this little Nashville bubble. Like, I couldn't tell you a lot of the current event stuff that's going on because we're so entrenched in what's going on here. You hear the different guy or girl that's got buzz in town, or this label's doing this, or this publisher's doing this, or whatever. And it is such like a grinder's paradise for sure.
So let's go back to some of the beginning stuff with Raised Rowdy and talk about how all of that started and your guys' friendship and connection.
Yeah, so Raised Rowdy started in 2017 formally, but on the back of a group chat called the Rowdy Gentlemen of Leisure, which was
it's a real we still have the flag, Rowdy Gentlemen of Leisure.
Yeah, we had a group of buddies that went to a festival, actually country concert, which isn't super far from you guys. It's in Western Ohio, for a bachelor party for our buddy Jason. And then after that, some of the boys weren't allowed to go. They're like, you're not going to a bachelor party again. You know, there's no bachelor parties. But some of the guys that were a little bit older, wives were like, yeah, we don't care what y'all do. So we went and kind of made it just a tradition. The festival was great. And the cool thing about a festival is you are in the trenches with a group of people for 3 or 4 days straight. And the amount, if you think about like when you're hanging out with buddies, you're going out for like 4-6 hours, maybe with you guys 12 hours, and and but you're only doing so much connection in that time. When you're out sleeping in tents or sleeping in campers and you're around each other all day, everybody's sharing food,
just trying to survive.
Yeah, you really build long-term connections in a short-term amount of time. Right. So there's people that we met that first year that I went to their weddings and I still keep in touch with, and that still come now help us at that festival, so it's the connection part of it is what like really drew me in on festivals, was like, you just get to meet these people that you would have never met otherwise, that have a bond over music, right? Everybody's that's there loves music kind of like we did. Right. And then from there it was like, okay, we're just a group of idiot friends that are going and drinking too much at these shows, but being good patrons, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that like Paul and the guys from Country Concert talked about is they're like, you guys were fun, you're welcoming. We never heard anybody say anything negative about you. Guys could come over and party with you guys, and they're like, most crowds will not accept new guys, But we just liked having fun, man, and we just wanted to share that. Buddies were like, you need to start something in music, you love it so much. I was always the guy like going out and saying, oh, have you heard this guy yet? I was that dude before kind of Spotify fed everyone all of that, which is great. I was kind of like doing that for my crew. So started Raised Rowdy in 2017, mostly in a blog format to start, because that was the easiest thing to do when I lived in Pennsylvania. And then started the podcast not too far after that. And we were one of the first podcasts in country music. So it was like Whiskey Riff, Bobby Bones, and there was like one or two others. And we were doing artist interviews with people that they weren't doing artist interviews with.
How did you guys come to meet each other?
So we came to meet each other over the internet. So while Nick was doing his thing with Raised Rowdy and with his crew in Western PA and in Ohio and going to 80 to 100 shows a year, just loving it, calling up radio stations, winning tickets, winning meet and greets, and just traveling around to different things. I was doing a similar thing in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Eastern Pennsylvania. So we had known of each other for a long time. And it was funny. I was actually telling the story last night. When I first moved to town in 2018, it was right around the time that Nick and the Raised Rowdy folks back then were doing their first takeover of Whiskey Jam. That was like the first Whiskey Jam I had gone to. And I was looking across, I was like, holy shit, that's the Raised Rowdy guys. Like, I was intimidated by it. I was scared to go up to Nick and his degenerate friends at the time. Like, holy shit, this is Raised Rowdy. Like, these guys are doing it. And this was 6 years ago. But during COVID, we had connected. Nick and his friends were throwing bootleg festivals. They were not really quite festivals, but called it Raised Rowdy Summer Camp. And it was basically getting 40 people together in like somebody's backyard or like a campground, having artists come up from Nashville. Everybody would chip in like some money to pay the artist, cover food and stuff, and everybody would camp out in tents, and then the artist would play acoustic. So Nick invited me up for summer camp 2, went up there, and we really hit it off. And then we would find each other. I'd call him after like a round or an event in town, be like, hey, have you heard of this guy? And he's like, oh yeah, this guy's working with this guy. And we just geek out over the scene, kind of the underground scene of kids that were just moving to town. And then shortly after Nick moved to town, and all the DDID stuff happened with Trey, and which was at my event that I was hosting. Nick and his friends would come out. This was before Rowdy on the Road was a thing. And they would come out, drink all the Busch Lights, make a big beer tower at Live Oak. And I'd always shout it out like their big can pyramid. And Nick took that video of Trey, posted it on Facebook. It was the first. Trey Lewis, yep. Yeah. And it was the first viral moment of Dick Down in Dallas. And then from that point on, Nick started hanging out more with our crew. And then we just became close buddies,
Yeah, I moved down to Nashville October 2020. December 2020, we had Ella Langley and Trey Lewis and that crew all had a New Year's party, and it was very degenerate.
And this goes back to the tolerance thing we were talking about earlier. At the time, I was sponsored by a Delta 8 company that my buddy Andrew was pushing out of his apartment a little east of town. And he was just throwing me a little bit of bucks, but he would come and sell his Delta 8 at Live Oak. And the Live Oak crew was cool with it because they were using it too. And so I just had a ton of stockpile of Delta 8, like unregulated shit. And that was like, I'd bring it to the parties and stuff. Everybody just hang out. I wouldn't be selling. I'd be like, hey, you want to try a Skittle? You want to try this or that?
And trench coat.
Yeah, it was just on the table. It was like beer, whiskey, the Delta 8 stuff, and like cigars. And that was like what like the party, like the countertop would look like. And we gave Nick some Skittles. And that house, I mean, you had your Eagle beer bong at that time.
Yeah.
We had to retire it after that.
Yeah, crew got a hold of it, Ella's dog, and just tore the beer bong
Poured up. And I remember going over to the house the next day and Ella being pissed because it rained that night. We were still outside doing our thing.
Buddy.
And the whole house was like trashed, and we had to go over there the next morning and clean up Ella and Trey's house.
And so you guys have always been, since you guys have moved here, been close with Trey Lewis and Ella.
Yeah.
Because you were even his tour manager.
Yeah. So before COVID, I bounced on Broadway, and I was a Broadway boy. That was a chapter of my life, where I was out there working the door at Whiskey Row, checking IDs, catching a lot of fake IDs, and dealing with all the craziness that comes with doing that. And then I got the gig with Muscadine Bloodline. I was selling merch for them, and then COVID hits. We lose our gigs. I moved up north, stay with family, then come back to town. And then I got to know Trey through our buddy Alex Maxwell, who actually produced Stick Down in Dallas. He's got songs with Chase Matthew, with Colin Stow, with Trey, with a ton of different people. And he was putting together these pickup kickball games. We called it Sigs in the Outfield because we'd be ripping Sigs in the outfield at Belmont's softball field. And we would go on during COVID, and people would bring cases of beer, speakers, Sigs, all the stuff. And I got to know Trey, Ella, Matt McKinney, Brian Frazier, Cody Park, a ton of different people Clay Barker, Mitch Wallace, that are in our crew. And after the kickball games, we would go and do rounds, and a lot of them would be my rounds during COVID, and the bars would have to close at 10. And we'd be like, well, we got to all hang out. So we'd go to Trey and Ella's house, or we'd go to our buddy Nick Haynes' house or Maxwell's house, and we'd have fires, and everybody would sit and pass around the guitar. And that's kind of where the Dick Down in Dallas stuff started. And then Trey had the success with that, and he was like, well, will you come out and sell merch for me, because Muscadine's not touring. And then I ended up doing that, and then he was like, well, we need a tour manager now. So I left the Muscadine gig and TM'd for Trey for about 3 years. So it was wild.
Degeneracy.
And, Nick was there for a lot of it too. Like, he was there for that whole rise and that moment in town.
Yeah, when I got to town, I knew a lot of people just from the Raised Rowdy thing. Yeah. But Matt really embraced me and brought me into, like, he's like, I'm hanging with all these people, like, come over whenever you have free time. And I still had a day job and stuff, so I didn't have as much free time.
He'd stay out, close the bars down with us, and then get up at like 5:30 to be on at 6 Central Time, 7 Eastern Time for his day job back in Pittsburgh that he was working remote.
Yep. Yeah, it was a fun time. And I mean, I partied a lot back in Pittsburgh, but I had like kind of slowed down, and then when I got back to Nashville, it kind of started back up,
Nashville has that effect.
Yeah, it does, dude, because that's how you have to network. Is like what we were doing the other night at Losers, at Riley's, at Red Door. Like, that's how you meet people. Like, you were talking last night about, like, you guys are in town for this conference, and you don't meet people in, like, it's not like a normal conference where you're meeting a ton of people in the breakout sessions. You're meeting them in the bars after everything's kind of wound down.
Yeah, and Wayne and I have had that conversation of whether or not we every year we come down here to AIBA, and there's a whole conference over there and all this shit. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's the outside of it that we meet. I mean, again, Ryan had never been here, and we roll up to Losers in like 2 minutes. Because of you guys, we had met like 4 different people.
Oh yeah.
Dude who started Huck.
Yeah.
We met, Old 60.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like bang, 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 right after one after another.
That's one of the coolest parts about this town, man, is like, you really just never know who's around. And if you're just good to people, and people will be good to you back, and there's not even a reason to be good to them, you just be good to them,
No, for sure.
And that's the best part about it. And it is also fun. Like, I remember before I lived here, coming into town, we'd come in multiple times a year, and that's when I would record a lot of my podcasts, is coming in, and people knew me kind of like they know you, where like the Raised Rowdy crew came to town and caused destruction.
Then they went home
in the early infancy stage of it.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, let's meet up. And now that it's been like 10, 20 times coming down here, you start texting people, just not getting responses. Most people are like, do not disturb, Austin's in town. Austin and Wayne are here. Like, early on, they all come out and hang out. Later, less people reply back. They're like, oh man, I'm gone, sorry.
They're tired of the 3-day hangovers.
And then it's super weird when they're like, no man, I'm out of town, can't get a hold of Well, maybe next time, later that night, you like run into him at a bar.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's not you. It's just I don't want to hang out and get fucked up till 4 a.m.
Well, that's the hard part. Is like I could see Wayne judging me for my lack of partying when we were at Losers. You know?
No,
He's like, you're not hitting on any of these girls, and you're not drinking enough.
But you mentioned earlier that taking care of the artists and taking care of the people in town and whatnot, and we have heard all of that, even up in Cruisins, as we've been talking to some of the artists coming through, sitting down with Josh Ross and all those guys. And you're obviously very intentional about doing that, but you just kind of do it naturally.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the vision? Is that the takeaway you want from, hey, you take care of us, we'll take care of you, but it's building friendships. It's that networking. And
it really is. It's the community here more than anything. And like, that's one of the coolest parts about Nashville is that community. But I don't know who said this. I forget who it was, but someone said, however good to people you are on the way up, that's how good they're going to be to you on the way down.
Yeah.
Right? Because every trajectory of an artist, whether they get Morgan Wallen big or they're just someone that's playing 250 cap rooms the whole time, there's a up and there's a down. And if people like artists are bad to people on the way up, then no one's going to care about them and they're going to treat them like crap on the way down.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for us, man. Everything has a window of where it is the thing, or where hopefully you get that window. you know?
Yeah.
So we just try to be good to everyone that we can. There's, of course, like some people that you feel connected with more, that you'll have around more. But our big thing is we're just trying to build a community of like-minded people. The power of Nashville is when there's 30, 50, 100 people pointing in the same direction, you can go really fast.
Yeah, high tides raise all ships, and a huge thing for us is it's really cool getting to watch like friend crews succeed, like friend groups and stuff. And that was one thing that was cool about being with Trey was watching Ella doing what she's doing now, watching Joy Beth Taylor get big hits, watching Maxwell do his thing, McKinney, like watching that whole crew, and now even watching like Dylan Marlowe and his crew. Dylan played our first events in town, or watching kids like Bailey go from Live Oak to headlining the Tailgate and Tall Boy stage, watching Meg Maroney come to town and doing her thing, and now watching what she's doing, it's like, it's really cool to get to be a part of like artists on their way up.
I'm new to that experience, and just this year getting to start to feel those repercussions of, damn, like we've been boys since this time, they came and played Cruisins, or we did came down here and met in Nashville, and now all of a sudden they're playing the Grand Ole Opry, they're headlining Tailgate and Tall Boys. And naturally for us, we always call it Cruisins to the main stage, and watching people sell 50 tickets, or Paul Cawthon, the craziest story, 2 tickets at Cruisins his first time, sold it out the next time. Played the main stage this year
and crushed it.
And so that's an amazing feeling. Watching people do that grind. Bailey sold out Cruisins and then played one time, and then is headlining, and that's still awesome to see. But watching people truly work for it, open up for somebody like a Mitchell Tenpenny that's doing great, and they're just an opener, and then go play a side stage, then come back and play Cruise and sell 100 tickets.
Lakeview, buddy.
Lakeview, dude. Graham is another one who we were just with last night, and watching him just open at Cruisins, and now do a festival play to playing Grand Ole Opry tonight.
So cool, man. It's just amazing to just get to be a little part of the community in this thing and just get to see stuff like that. Like Graham, for example, he was just doing some of his first gigs, and he was opening up for Easton Corbin, and he was running through Pittsburgh on a weekend when it was Mother's Day. And I was like, hey, I got a place we can stay in Pittsburgh. If you want, I could come help you drive. And then now seeing what he's doing, and we were right before we went to your guys' festival, Matt was up there because he was emceeing your festival. I was down here emceeing an event for Sony that Graham got to play.
Damn.
So it's just stuff like that is sometimes it's full circle so quick too.
Very quick.
Yeah, which is cool.
What are some of your favorite memories from tailgating Tall Boys?
Ooh, man, there's a few different categories. I'll tell you what.
Aside from me,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, yeah, you go ahead.
Getting to the opportunity to be a part of it on the hosting element with you guys has been huge. You know, it's been like I've always dreamed of getting to be on stage and doing that back to when I was doing radio in New York and New Jersey and wanting to be on a stage introducing folks, and getting to introduce Bailey was really cool because we'd introduced him at Live Oak, and getting to kind of just be a big part of it. That's a big memory. I mean, also the after party in Bloomington, the
DJ Cliffy
D.
D, the DJ Cliffy D after party, and the chaos. Talk about Raised Rowdy. and the best part, everybody's like, there's all the chaos going on. Security's trying to figure out what to do. And Wayno's up there like, let him come up. Everybody get on this stage. Dude. It was just chaos, dude. That was one of my favorite ones, partying with Cliffy D and O-Rig and the team, all the guys that run merch for you guys. Like, just getting to have that family moment to close out Bloomington was awesome.
Cliffy was here yesterday. And
He was here
we talked
yesterday.
about that a lot.
Yeah. Chaos.
Yeah, pure
He was
chaos.
like, "Hey, the second day he was like, see if we can keep people off stage." And then Wayne just like was like, "More people on stage."
Everyone on stage.
It was so much fun. though.
My favorite moment with Raised Rowdy will always be because we had never met, and we talked on the phone the first year. You guys came up, and again, we're trying to learn, and we have so many things going on. Not that you guys aren't important, but it is like, oh, fuck, these guys have a spot. We got to get this, and also this sponsor has something over here, and I don't know. Does this look good, guys? I don't know. You guys want to make camp here, and you guys are so easy that you're just like, yeah, man, hey, we're good. And you rolled with it in your tents right there in that own little area. And that first night before, like the Wednesday night before, we're out there ripping cigs.
Oh, bro.
Ripping cigs in the golf cart and drinking.
Callie and
having a
Max,
good time.
bro. Yeah.
And you guys and it was hot too. And you guys woke up and you're like, this is the hottest tent experience we've ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, I've been a tent veteran for a while. Going to country concert was very tent heavy. Now, if you go there, there's a lot more campers. You know, people have kind of got it. You know,
I think it was more the girl.
Yeah, the girls were like,
this was rough.
Yeah, Callie wasn't ready for the sun wakes you up at 6 a.m. no matter how late you stayed out. You know,
But even seeing that, going to beginning to that now, her career, and where she's going,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what she's doing.
She's just getting started, dude. It's crazy.
Well,
It
and
is.
like Max went from being with us, just hanging out, helping us sell merch, to then being with Lacade on stage at the side stage.
Yeah.
And I got to announce them. As Matt was talking about, another cool moment for me, I feel like a side stage guy. I feel connected to the up and coming folks because of what we kind of do in town. Even before we were doing that in town, that's kind of what the blog has always been. Like talking about the people that maybe don't have PR people and that really could use an article about them so that someone sees a line of sight into what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So getting to like help MC the side stage, and then Alex Holm coming over, and
Alex, bro.
he was fun.
God bless.
But I don't know if you remember the dude from Iowa that he pulled out of the crowd with that crop top shirt.
With the crop top Raised Rowdy shirt.
With the crop top Raised Rowdy shirt, he was blitzed out of his mind. And they went up on stage, and what was that guy? Oh, he was whipping his mullet.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like that. I don't know.
We were hyping him up. Taking my shirt off in Midland was pretty wild, too. Everybody was like, you got another shirt? I'm like, fuck, I got to throw this shirt off my back.
You took your shirt off in Midland?
I took my shirt off because
yeah.
we were throwing out T-shirts, and then I looked at Ike was out there with me with the camera, and I was like, "Well, I'm on a T-shirt, like that's it, guys." And then some guy was like, "No, you're not." And I had to rip my shirt off and throw it out into the
I
crowd.
don't know if I've ever seen this video.
Oh,
or
it's
not.
on
probably-
the feed.
it's probably
yeah.
for your
Here,
best.
watch
I
it.
heard that.
It was a moment.
Oh, the other funny one was Mike Stoll with the corn dog.
Oh, yeah,
we
bro.
talked about that the other day.
Yeah.
We had talked about corn dog interviews, like man on the street content with corn dog for like, I don't know, 2 years.
We tried to do it before the Wallen show.
Yeah, we tried to do it for when I was working for Big Loud at Hicks Tape.
Yeah.
We had like the concept, and we just didn't get it right. You know,
It was perfect.
it was so perfect.
So they took a corn dog and attached one of those little wireless
Wireless
mics and just went up and started interviewing everybody, and the people were like taking bites of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was hilarious.
We're gonna have to bring back the corn dog interviews this year
Yes,
for sure.
we definitely are.
Yeah, that was it was cool seeing that actually happen because we had like literally talked about it for almost 2 years.
And to see it work as well as it did.
Yeah,
which was
Stahl
really
is electric.
Yeah.
Honestly, before he moved back to Ohio, I was gonna move in with him, and like we were gonna make him like a personality. We were gonna do a tattoo kind of podcast kind of thing.
Why don't we? We
It's
got
just
it.
in Ohio.
Now he's up in Ohio.
yeah, we need to find
Family
a video,
man.
dude.
He was going to tattoo me, so he did this tattoo of my kids
Yeah.
writing, and up in Midland, I wanted to get another tattoo and everything. Yeah, man, let's do it here, later, blah, blah, blah. And he tattooed different artists, and later that night got into the old,
sauce.
the old sauce.
Yeah.
And he's like, looking cross-eyed and shit. He's like, dude, hey, you want that tattoo? I'm like, nah, probably fine right now, Mike.
Let's do it next
No,
year.
we were all partying and shit, and I was fucked up. And I was probably gonna get something stupid, but I just ended up with a smiley face on my
On your leg.
But
That's great.
He didn't even do that one. That's the crazy part. Cody Ash did that one.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Cody picked up the
yeah.
gun. That's right.
Yeah, he picked up the gun, and he did it, and then I didn't realize, he's like, yeah, I've never tattooed anybody before.
Did a pretty decent job.
Did
Yeah.
a good job. It's
Dude,
perfect.
that's the thing with Stahl though, is first time I got a Stahl tattoo, I got this Raised Rowdy tattoo. And Hardy got tattooed in the same hotel room, which was a tattoo or a hotel room that I got for Stahl,
yeah.
because I'd like a hookup for tattoos. And that was when Hardy was just playing the small room in the House of Blues, in
Damn.
Cleveland. So Stahl and I just went out, and he hit up Hardy, and he was like, but me and Stahl had formally met a little bit before that at another show in Ohio that I drove 4 hours to,
Yeah.
And so I got my first Raised Rowdy tattoo the first time he got to tattoo Hardy, which was
Can you
cool.
show everybody your butt rock one?
Oh yeah, not on the pod, but
Yeah, and it's.
I mean, how about that one? You got your
God.
ass tattooed, and then Bailey came in and did his arm.
Yeah.
did his
Yeah.
arm.
yeah. I mean, at 41 years old, I decided it was a good idea to get an ass tattoo. God bless. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Butt rock.
And my first time getting to know Mike was at that summer camp when I got to know Nick and the rest of the crew. And I got my sobriety date, so it's just like a few numbers. But he had like a stencil sheet of like all this Raised Rowdy stuff, and he was just tattooing everybody at
think he
the
did like
summer
30.
camp. Like 30 tattoos, like
Yeah.
Fuck it.
so. There's a lot of people with Raised Rowdy on their ass from that
Yeah.
from that weekend. Yeah,
Damn.
Well, one with Raised Rowdy on their ass, but a lot on their body.
a lot on their body. Okay, only one on the ass. Okay.
Yeah. It was cool though. Like I think that really like kind of bonded our crew too and got us like even in more with some artists, because they were like, Raised Rowdy had us come up and they were wild, but we left with a couple $100, and at that time they needed it. There was no shows, there was no gigs, so it was like if we were giving them $700, that was more than they were making during COVID. It was nuts. Everyone was picking up day jobs and just writing on Zoom.
What a
Yeah.
weird time.
Yeah, it was.
Even you made the comment earlier, like the bar shut down at 10 because COVID only comes out after
Yeah,
a
after
certain
dark.
time. And
Dude,
you
yeah,
can't
man.
be eating. As long as you're eating food,
Yeah.
you're sitting in it
Yeah.
after 10 o'clock.
Dude, it was honestly, I tell people, and they always look at me kind of crazy. The last 6 months of 2020 were probably the best 6 months of my life, like because of just being like having Trey and Ella and doing all that, all the partying with everybody and like building that connection, like finding my Nashville like family. Because I've been in town for a few years at that point, but doing the events at Live Oak when we weren't supposed to probably be doing rounds, and we were running full bore, full capacity, like line out the door, and we were still doing it.
That's back to being in the trenches. You guys
Yes.
formed
Yeah.
a bond because you all went through an experience together,
Yes.
and you had to get through it.
Yeah.
Up in Illinois, they were shutting stuff down, and that's where Wayne's like, finally, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I mean, throwing full-blown parties, but hey, we were outside in the beer garden,
Yeah.
and he put up a tent, everything. Everybody was so grateful to just come out and shit. There was a bar in Eureka, probably 10 minutes from where me and Wayne live, and naturally, dude, we were like so tired of being inside. Couldn't be inside anymore. There was one bar downstate Illinois open still. They were defiant. We're not closing. Me and Wayne went there. They shut down the next day.
That sounds right.
They got a cease and desist really quick. They're like, you guys did $2,000 in tabs in one night. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
That was just Wayne. Yeah.
That was just the first round.
Jeez, yeah, chaos, craziness.
It was wild.
Yeah, getting to go through venues during COVID was wild too. And like, yeah, we did a lot of touring with Trey in Florida and Texas. We were doing like sold out shows like December of 2020, like right when the song came out, like 800-900 college kids in a room in South Georgia. Damn. Like it was crazy. And then we had some venues that were operating as restaurants, and they'd order like a couple Domino's pizzas, sell through the slices, and then they'd have their restaurant license, but still be back in the room out. It was chaos. It was a Wild West.
We were booking, so we took over in 2019. So we're like, yes, let's start this. What are we going to do in 2020? Started getting all this shit booked up. COVID. We're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then 2021. All right, let's do this. November. Book Morgan Wallen. It's 2020. We're booking for, crossing our fingers because, again, remember, it just kept getting extended further and further. No place in the Midwest was doing anything. We were the first festival, 1st of June of 2021. And so everybody was ready. But all the things that we had to do before that.
Yeah.
Well, and then Morgan had his incident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sucks. We're like, this is horrible. Why did we ever get into music? And then we were looking at huge costs to do COVID tests and stuff for every human that walks into the festival. We're like, fuck it. We're not doing it. Not a single human wore a mask. I didn't see a mask one time there. People were just ready to get back to music.
Yeah.
Ludacris played. That
So
just
great.
changed everybody's emotions.
Well, that's one of the things I love about your guys' festival too, is like you're not like just a country genre festival. Like there's a lot of country artists, but you guys will lean into rock. You'll lean into stuff that's outside of rock and country, like Ludacris and stuff like
Dude,
that.
even Sam Hunt was standing there on the side stage like, how the fuck am I going to follow this?
Yeah.
Like what the people were raving about him.
Yeah.
He was so good. So good.
Cool. I love that too. Like one of the things I talk about with you guys is you're willing to explore like having a pop artist or having, a rap artist and having a headliner like Nickelback at a country festival.
Or Shinedown.
Yeah, Shinedown.
I think Wayne, we were in talks because we got Morgan in 2022 the following year. And again, our minds and where they go, he's like, dude, let's put Snoop Dogg on right before Morgan. And we were like, dude, this is gonna be amazing. And sure as shit, look at the route Morgan's gone with doing collabs with Lil Durk and all these different artists.
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
this would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have fit for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's always like memes about like my playlist and it's Snoop and Willie and stuff like that. But think about it, man. How many people enjoy multiple genres of music?
Everybody.
Most of them.
Oh, yeah.
Most normal people.
Yeah,
If you're
exactly.
a one genre person, come on.
Yeah. And even if it's like this is the genre I like the most, but I fuck with this,
Yeah.
Like I like rock the most.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is crazy, like super hard rock. But who only in this day and age, everybody listens to literally everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody listens to their shit on shuffle too. Albums are a thing of the past of
Yeah.
start to finish. People just dropping singles.
Yeah, the only way you're listening to a record in full is if you're throwing it on vinyl and you're doing it intentionally almost,
For sure.
That's one of the things when we were at Tailgate and Tall Boys Bloomington for the first time. We were like, I love that they're playing like butt rock and like rock and roll in between each set. You know, like up at Bloomington, like Nickelback Day specifically, but all that weekend, you guys were playing rock and roll music, not just like country music like you're used to hearing at the majority of the festival.
Give everybody your definition of butt rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Butt rock is like over the top 90s to 2000s rock and roll. Okay. If you're thinking of that,
Corey
you're
for the
thinking
win.
of bands like Creed, Three Doors Down, Nickelback, Hinder, Seether, like that stuff.
Yeah, and I always like to say that it goes back to the moniker of like, say like 102.9 The Buzz here in town, like 102.9 The Buzz, nothing but rock, like in the 90s and 2000s, that was like the moniker for the rock radio stations was they would say nothing but rock, which is what we've played off our events being when we do these butt rock nights. We call it nothing but rock.
Yep.
And you can throw in like the new metal guys like Limp Bizkit, Korn, like, and it's cool that we had started that account with our buddy Brian Frazier, and Brian and Nick run the account. Yeah, Brian's the
Brian
Lord of
does
Butt
most
Rock,
of it.
and it's double the size of the Raised Rowdy account. And it's massive, and it's just memes of all these different bands. And it started a few years ago, and now fast forward, and it's like Creed's back selling out shows, Nickelback's back selling out shows, Limp Bizkit's back. 3 Days Grace just announced their lead singer's coming back. Like Three Doors has been touring. Like all these bands are kind of back, and we just started making memes a couple years ago. Or Brian did a few years ago, and now it's like the scene is back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I told a story on one of our podcasts here a few weeks ago. I remember who we were sitting down with. I'm more of the fan perspective, right? So I've never been in the industry, like we said, first time in Nashville, kind of on the outside looking in. I've been, to Tailgate. I've seen, all of you at Tailgate and whatnot. Austin calls me one day, a Sunday morning, and said, "Hey, I think we're going to do a podcast. You want to do it with me?" And within a few hours, he had all the equipment bought and everything else. And then 2 days later, my very first, kind of introduction was on a web call with Matt and Ike and talking about equipment and do's and don'ts and all of that. But just like the overwhelmingness of support and whatnot, since that day or my first introduction into it. I appreciate that.
Of course, you boys are family. Yeah. Like,
this is a Raised Rowdy sponsored podcast.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah. No, that's the cool thing about Nashville and about specifically like the country music community is it is very like, hey, we're not worried that there's another podcast out there. We're stoked. You know what I mean? Right. Because the more people that are paying attention to good music, the better off this thing is. And you guys are getting amazing artists out of the gate too, which is sick. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, utilizing the tools that you guys have of having a great venue, having one of the best festival series that's out there in the genre, and being able to capitalize on that. Plus, you guys just being personalities as well, and like Wayno and Charlie and the rest of the crew that you guys have, like. You guys are like I remember you guys were trying to do like content of like a reality show kind of thing for a second, like because you have the personalities, you're not just dudes that put on a festival. You're like normal dudes that like to party as well and just love music and build a great relationship with the artists.
We have the behind the scenes footage. The problem is everything's fucking censored.
Yes.
Sounds right.
It was like we started editing it and it was like, well, cut that. Well, it's like, well, we have you guys showing up and we have you leaving. But again, we just keep growing, and our guy that was supposed to do the behind-the-scenes footage fucking bailed. Like, swear to God, I'm leaving to head to Iowa the Sunday before. Bails. So I start texting some people. Mac is just a high school kid, just graduated high school. Never have met him before. He's in the same town I am. Hey, man, you want to come to Iowa and, have all your shit paid for and just take a bunch of footage and stuff? Next thing you know, he's on stage taking video footage of Nate Smith and living his best life.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to see. And again, that goes back to watching people come into this, get an opportunity, grow their brand and what they're doing is awesome. And now he's in LSU taking all the football and sports photos at all the games, and pretty sick.
Dude, and that's the thing too, is like you're giving chances to people that don't get to experience that stuff a lot. Right? It's weird here in Nashville, like there's a lot of opportunities for things like that. But if you're in Iowa or you're in Illinois, there's not a lot of opportunities to shoot big festivals. Right. So you giving a kid like that an opportunity probably helped him get that gig at LSU.
And he did a good job with handling all the artists and stuff too, because you're a kid fresh out of high school and you're backstage watching Jelly Roll get out of the Suburban as he comes from Detroit, and you're seeing literal rock star shit, and he was composed and professional all the weekends.
Josh Ross offered him a job.
Yeah.
You're not going to come in here and start stealing my people.
Listen here, JR.
Your own fucking people.
Oh, man, that's great.
it's fun. Now we just got to figure out how to make money at this shit.
Yeah, that's same thing for us, dude.
Yeah.
It's a grind. I mean, I just posted episode 206 of Outside the Round today, and Nick just dropped, I believe it was 195 or 196. Like, we've been doing it for a long time, and it's a grind. And you have episodes where you'll have a guest on, and then it'll blow up. Like Nick and Kurt had Lainey Wilson on a while back, and she was Lainey Wilson. Like, had a lot of buzz, but wasn't where she's at now. I had Meg Maroney on in the early days, and that episode continues to do well. Gavin Adcock, I was his first podcast. Like, and you get to have people that are early on, and then the episodes kind of grow as they grow. And people are like Googling who Gavin Adcock is, and my conversation with him pops up, and it was wild.
And we don't even want to. We're naturally we're starting with artists and people that we have connections to, but we don't want to leave it at just that. I mean, we're talking like anybody and everybody. That, because our whole philosophy on this is us just sitting on a tailgate, drinking a cold one, and having a conversation about whatever. We want to do athletes, to just our buddies. You know, we got some pretty interesting friends that we've talked about having on the podcast too. But
a lot of those site hits are probably from me, because I do all the research, and I like to be educated and have some background and stuff like that. So I'm always hitting up your past podcasts with guests that we've got coming up. So it's a lot of that time that I'm sure that you guys spend as well to kind of get to know. Yeah,
I'll go back and listen to other podcasts, and sometimes, like, if they're on 50 podcasts already, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to hit on any of that stuff.
Right.
Like, what else can I hit on that'll be different? And one of the cool things about podcasts too is it's like a statement in time of where that artist is.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you had Josh Ross before he put out any singles, and you had Josh Ross now, that's a very different conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And good and bad. I mean, he's tired now, but that's because he's out on the road grinding his butt off,
right.
And we had him within days. I think we talked to him on Friday or Saturday, and on Tuesday is right after the Canadian Country Music Awards, and he had a great night there.
Where he won everything.
Those also we have to keep, we try to keep it very, like you guys, about the artist.
Yeah.
About, we got to cut out some edits and, different stuff like that. But the Cliffies and our friends, you guys, everybody, and getting Wayne on here, those are going to be the unfiltered ones that, we don't have
Wayne
to really watch
Unfiltered. God bless. That's awesome. I love it though. And that's part of the thing too that people really love about what I've talked with guys and girls that have played cruise-ins and have gone through the Tailgate and Tall Boys festivals and stuff, is that folks love you guys. Like, you guys are like, you're going to go up and play a festival, you're going to get treated impeccably well, you're going to be eating Whitey's, cooking at the catering, like all this good stuff. But then you guys are just great fucking dudes to the artists, and you build the relationships up to where a Lily Rose wants to hang out with you, and then you guys went out on the golf course with her, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we take him to dinner and wine and dine. I mean, Nate Smith got up at dinner and was like, "No one has ever taken me and my band to a dinner like this before." And very appreciative, salt of the earth guy. And people just don't understand when they look out at the festival and Wayne's putting up scrim, and you're sitting here talking about hospitality. If you met Steven.
Yes.
Okay.
Steven does a great job.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Steven, people talk about, they look out, Wayne's putting up scrim, and artist camps are there. They're going to hospitality, meeting Steven. Oh man, this food's all good. And Cliffy's talked about this before. It's like, that's the motherfucker that owns this shit.
Yeah.
He's slaving away, putting your food out there, making sure all that's perfect. They're like, what? Seriously? And that's the person putting up fence posts is out there. These people are running around, and that's what I love about our team is we're all doing all these jobs. No one's too good to do this shit. It's the whole take out the garbage deal.
Yep.
And a lot of you guys grew up together, like are from the same area. Like, it's a bunch of guys from the Peoria area just putting on these massive festivals. And you guys are all homies and we're doing this together.
We're professional party throwers.
Professional party throwers. I like that.
That's kind of what we are too.
We're not promoters. We're professional party throwers.
Yeah.
And again, all we got to do is figure out how to make money at it.
Yeah.
But, no, we love it. We love having you guys on here. We love having you guys at the festival. Talking about competition. We were talking the other day, all of us were about what are we going to do at the festival with the podcast, and I feel even bad with ours. But I'm like, it doesn't matter. We want to keep always promoting each other, and also feel like we're growing at a pace where I want you guys to have success because of our festival.
Same.
I want to have success at the festival because of you guys' success and your connections and all the introductions you guys have done for us. I mean, I'm beyond grateful for.
That's what it's all about, man.
I love seeing it. But I do have one, and I want to get you guys' take because you're so all over the place with music. And I want both of you. I've never had a dual. We've never had two guests on here at one point, so you guys can kind of think about this. I have a question I ask, and it's got to be kind of a sense of urgency thought. So you're on a plane, it's going down, it's headed straight to the water. You got a parachute, and you have access to every album possible, but you can only take 5 with you.
Jeez.
What 5 albums are you taking to the island to listen to for the rest of your life?
All right. You want me to start?
You go ahead.
All right. I'm going to take Traveler, Stapleton, because that's probably my most listened to on repeat album of all time.
It's a good one.
I'm going to take Combs' first album. I'm going to take Church's Chief album. And then I'm going to take Incubus, Make Yourself.
Wow.
And I'm going to take Red Hot Chili Peppers, What Hits, if that counts, even though it's like kind of a compilation of their early stuff.
If it's an album, if it's out there on Spotify or
yeah, that's probably the stuff that I would take just in terms of re-listenability. And I wouldn't even say those are like all of my favorite artists. I mean, like Combs is one of my favorite artists of all time, Stapleton too. But like Chili Peppers, What Hits is just nostalgia for me. It was like one of the first CDs I ever bought. And then that Make Yourself album is like a statement to my senior year of high school. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Yeah, each album to me always has a timestamp on it.
Yes.
You talked about 3 Days Grace, freshman in high school, burn that CD up. It was always in my I had the 6 CD changer in my truck, and I was badass. And I can tell you exactly when that album was, and that's how I feel about albums.
Yeah, my first CD that I bought with my own money was All the Right Reasons, Nickelback. Yeah. So I was 8 years old. It was 2003, so I was in like the 3rd grade. I remember bumping Nickelback, so I put that one in there. I like Bailey's Religiously album a lot, a lot. There's not a skip on there for me, so I'll throw that in there. I'll go back, if we're doing compilation ones, another early album for me was Tim McGraw Greatest Hits, the first one, where he's got like Indian Outlaw Down on the Farm, all the old stuff. I remember riding around in the Ford Windstar, my grandma's minivan, listening to that shit, That was my first concert ever too. Hoss Cat McGraw. Before I was again in the 3rd grade, and it was
third grade was a good grade.
3rd grade. Aaron Boone hits that home run. Yankees beat the Red Sox. It was a great 2003 was awesome.
Only thing would be better if you gotten laid by your first CD, all that. 3rd grade would have been sick.
Yeah, wasn't happening at 8, But yeah, so the Tim McGraw Greatest Hits, Bailey's Religiously. I know people always say like the BG Nation, whatever, they get a little bit of hate sometimes in the comments for being like the juggalos of country music. I was a big BG Nation guy for a long time. Still love Brantley. That Halfway to Heaven record was huge for me, especially like he talks about sobriety and stuff, and that was like when I was in college going through my sobriety stuff. So I put that one on there. And then let's do Harold Saul High, Co Wetzel with Ragweed and stuff on there. And especially because I have some great memories of Co's live show, which is just unbelievable. It's a spectacle. And those would be my 5.
Sick.
Which are a little bit all over the place.
I'm going to throw a little curveball that we've never done before. I want to get Ryan's 5.
Wow.
I've never asked.
Yeah,
Ryan
no, I never answered. So kind of similar to the reasons why Metallica, Enter Sandman, or the Black Album was.
Dude, that's a good one. That's a good pick.
That's where I got into more of the rock, and I think I was in 5th grade when that came out, something like that, 6th grade, and so that was my first concert as well. Just going and seeing them.
That's sick.
So probably that, and then. I'm a Shinedown fan, so I got to throw Shinedown in there. But kind of like what you guys said, I mean, it goes back to a period of your life, and you can remember like what you were going through, divorce or children or something along those lines. And that one, the Shinedown, is certainly from my military time and going through all of that. But let's see, I Religiously probably is up there. I'm the same. I wouldn't skip a song on there. I just one of the few that
it's a sneaky good record, Sneaky good.
So there's 3. I don't know where else I would go off the top of my head.
Mine are, I learned that, this is where I learned that as I started doing this, I have an obsession with live albums. Mine are Oasis live at Wembley.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Counting Crows live in New Amsterdam.
Great record.
Taking Back Sunday live in Los Angeles. John Mayer live in Los Angeles. My fifth one is where it gets weird. I either go like Brooks and Dunn's Greatest Hits. It was an album. I mean, it was like my first tape I ever remember listening to.
Yeah.
Or then I go a hard rock side with Emotionless and Wide or something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're on that island, you just
jamming.
Yeah, it's so hard for me. I always say like I completely destroy songs, and it used to be records. I would just listen to a record on repeat. And now it's like I will listen to Little Red Race Car by Chase Rice 150 times in a week right now, you know? And then I'll change it to another song, but sometimes a song can catch me for like a couple months.
I just don't even know why my list ended up like that, but the live album, L-A-N-Y or Laney, I don't even know how you say it, Laney, live is also just a badass album.
I like the Guns N' Roses live album from back in the day with that welcome to the Jungle and all the big hits on there. I remember my dad giving me that. I got access to CDs like very young, where I had like my cousin Kenny, who was kind of like uncle age but a cousin, and he introduced me to like Biggie and Tupac and like Headbangers Ball compilation records. Like when I was way too young to be listening to that shit, you know. So it got me like into the songs, like even like Limp Bizkit, listening to Limp Bizkit and watching them in like the early 2000s, like when Wes had left the band and they were doing like the Eat You Alive and like Head for the Barricade. Like those songs were like crazy.
Well, my favorite live record I think of all time is Unplugged in New York by Nirvana.
Oh, that's another, just hammer.
Like, that album did so much for my brain musically, right? Like I didn't understand what it was, the amount of dopamine it was dropping into my brain on a basis.
Alice in Chains Unplugged. It's always
Yeah.
something I play over and over again.
Yeah. It's cool though, because as you're in the business now of live music, seeing that those live recordings meant so much to you. Yeah. You guys got to start doing some live records at Cruisins, man.
Live from Cruisins.
Yeah, I would love also, but again, you get into the artist side of it, you know, and I don't know how you even go about it, but I've always wanted to do like, you know, the live show from the festival.
Yeah.
You know, figure out a way to do something like that.
That would be sick.
You 100% could. You might have to do it on the side stage with artists that don't have record labels. Yeah.
Or people we know, man. As Josh gets bigger, I'll just put it in a contract where I'm like, you're just gonna do this. So like, tell everybody we have to do a Josh Ross live at Tailgate and Tall Boys.
That's like the Woodstock '99 record is a great record. Yeah, and that's the one where I go back, because obviously I was a small child when that happened. Yeah. So it's like I love going back and listening to Fred Durst and Kid Rock on audio before shit hit the fan. You know?
Yeah.
The Netflix special is amazing.
Yeah, or all the full sets on YouTube. You know.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like when I was a senior. So I remember culturally how big that festival was before it happened, and then I remember how big the repercussions were.
We talked about that yesterday. We literally had this conversation with Cliffy. I go back at least once a month just to watch Fred Durst and them taking, you know, break shit and just all the plywood coming across the crowd.
Literally
showing my
tore
kids
up
like this
towers.
was a festival, kids.
Yeah,
back in my day.
And it's like now on the side of the business that you guys are on with putting on these festivals, like could you imagine that happening?
They're tearing down the
They're tearing down front of house.
Wild.
So I was thinking about it too, and you know, music for me, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people, it kind of is that like I was talking about earlier, you know, that place in life where you are. You know, opportunity to kind of shout out, you know, who do you have coming up? Who are you watching and think that they are the next big thing?
I mean, some people that folks know and that have come through Cruisins, like I think Gavin Adcock's generational. Yeah. Anybody that is under the age of like 24, 25, Gavin is their Hank Jr. Like Gavin is going to be, well, whether it I think it's going to continue to be a rocket, but even when like eventually like on the way down years from now, like it's a generational thing. And Nick and I have talked about that a bunch.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful for you guys and, you know, learning and getting to do the podcast with you guys, being able to call you family, and introducing you to Ryan, and meeting all these great people down here. Like, that's what it's about.
It is, man.
Can't thank you guys enough for all this, and
Absolutely.
yeah. Appreciate you guys so much. Oh, well, fuck, you gave me your beer.
Oh, no. Dude, we can't
Cheers,
thank you guys
man.
enough
Yeah,
because
seriously.
not everywhere treats us like family, and you guys do. And it means the world to us, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool getting to know you guys from back in the day when I was out with Trey up at Cruisins that night, and we had a great time. But now getting to be a part of the Tailgate and Tall Boys franchise and USA concerts and what you guys are building in the Midwest. And I had gotten to experience the Midwest through touring, but now getting to be up there, like, I fucking love Iowa. I love Illinois. I love Midland, Michigan. Like, it's really cool to get to experience different parts of the country and getting to do it with you guys. And we can't wait for 2025. It's very excited.
Fuck yeah. Well, appreciate you guys, man.
Here's to the Tailgate Beers,
Tailgate
boys.
Beers.
Yeah. Cheers.